People like you don't belong in houses like this. The words came from her lips like perfume laced with poison, soft, elegant, and cruel. She didn't know the man mopping her marble floors was the one who owned them. She didn't know the janitor she sneered at was Ethan Ward, millionaire, CEO, and the reason her diamonds even sparkled under that roof. But today, Ethan wasn't testing her wealth. He was testing her heart. Because sometimes, the only way to see the truth is to walk among those who live beneath your lies. And when this disguise comes off, the real cleanup will begin. This is Hidden Black Echoes, where the stories of struggles are told. The rise and the voice of those the world tried to silence. If you believe true worth isn't found in titles or fortunes, but in how we treat people when no one's watching, hit like and subscribe. Because in the next few minutes you'll see how one man traded his suit for a mop and uncovered the truth that money could never buy. The echo of footsteps followed him down the marble hall like ghosts that refused to rest. Ethan Ward, millionaire CEO of Ward Tech Industries, paused in front of his own reflection, the kind of mirror polished enough to expose truth. But today, he didn't want to see a millionaire. He wanted to see what everyone else saw when the power was gone. He slipped the plain gray janitor's uniform over his pressed white shirt, button by button, the transformation both ridiculous and strangely liberating. The cap came next, low over his brow. A mop bucket waited by the service door, clean, silent, loyal. Just like the people who worked under him, unseen and unheard. "Sir, are you sure about this?" his driver whispered. Ethan nodded. "They've been saying my fiancé is different when I'm not around." "I need to see for myself." The driver hesitated. "But going undercover in your own house." "Exactly," Ethan said. "In my own house." When the mansion gates closed behind him, Ethan became no one. To the staff, he was Eric, the new temp janitor filling in for the regular crew. To Vanessa Clark, the glamorous fiancée who adored public attention, he was invisible, exactly what he needed to be. The first thing he noticed wasn't the luxury. It was the silence, the kind that hums in rich houses where no one actually feels alive. The twins, Liam and Grace, sat on the grand staircase, their legs swinging, their eyes tired. Grace whispered, "Do you think she'll be nice today?" Liam shook his head. "Only when Daddy's home." Ethan's chest tightened. He stayed in the background, pretending to mop the floor while Vanessa's laughter echoed down the hall. It was a laugh designed for cameras, polished, practiced, hollow. She strolled in, all silk and perfume, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, darling, the charity gala will be perfect," she cooed. "And don't worry, the twins will be seen but not heard." Ethan's hand froze on the mop handle. She passed the children without a glance, snapping her fingers at them. "Shoes off the stairs." "I told you, guests don't want to see dirt." Grace scrambled to obey, her lip trembling. A quiet voice came from the corner. "They're just children, ma'am." Ethan turned. The speaker was a woman in a Navy housemaid uniform, calm eyes, brown skin that caught the afternoon light like bronze, her movements deliberate and unhurried. Maya Jefferson. Vanessa's expression flickered with annoyance. "Excuse me?" Maya straightened, meeting her gaze without fear. "They've been sitting quietly all morning. I don't think they've done anything wrong." For a heartbeat, the air froze. Vanessa's voice dropped, soft but venomous. "I didn't ask for your opinion, Maya. I asked for compliance. Learn the difference." Ethan's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. He couldn't. Not yet. Maya didn't argue. She just turned back to the twins, her voice low, steady. "It's all right, sweetheart. Go play in the garden for a bit. I'll handle the mess." The children's small smiles were brief, but real. They slipped away, their shoes squeaking softly on the marble. When they were gone, Vanessa turned her cold charm toward Ethan, the janitor. "You," she said, pointing lazily with her glass of white wine. "Make sure the fountain outside is spotless." The last guy left spots on the marble, looked awful in photos. Ethan gave a small nod, masking the fury building behind his calm. She didn't even look at him again. Hours passed. Ethan worked quietly, mopping floors he already owned, listening to words that burned more than bleach. He saw how Vanessa scolded the cook for under-seasoning the soup, how she told a gardener, "Do it again, you people never get it right." How she smiled when the cameras came on, and vanished behind her when they went off. But it was Maya who changed the air. She spoke gently to everyone, even the guards who stood too stiffly by the door. When she thought no one was watching, she placed small notes in the twins' lunchboxes. "You're brave. You're kind. You matter." Ethan read one of them by accident when it fell near the trash. His throat tightened. By nightfall, the mansion glowed under chandeliers, guests arriving for another one of Vanessa's charity dinners. She smiled for cameras again, her arm looped through Ethan's old college friend, the one hosting the event. Ethan, hidden behind a mop and name tag, watched her laugh and thought, how much of this life is a lie? Later, after the guests left, he saw Maya again, cleaning up glasses no one thanked her for. "Long day," he murmured, his voice slightly disguised. She looked up, surprised that the janitor spoke. "Longer for the little ones," she said softly. "They're good kids. They just live in a house that forgot how to love." Her words hit him harder than he expected. When she walked away, Ethan looked down the hall where Vanessa's laughter still lingered, echoing faintly through the marble. And in that moment, the millionaire in disguise realized something painful. He had built an empire that could buy anything, except truth. The mansion looked peaceful at night. But peace, Ethan realized, could be a disguise too. He waited until the last light in the east wing dimmed before heading upstairs with his mop and bucket. Every step echoed like a secret he wasn't supposed to hear. Down the corridor, a faint sound broke the stillness. A muffled sob. He followed it. The door was cracked open. Inside, dim light spilled across the nursery. Liam and Grace sat on their beds, clutching each other, their faces streaked with tears. Standing over them was Vanessa, still in her silk dress, but with a rage that stripped away her charm. "What did I tell you?" she hissed. "No food in the room. You're lucky your father isn't here to see how disgusting you are." "Please," Grace whimpered. "We were just hungry." Vanessa grabbed the tray and flung it against the wall. The crash made Ethan flinch from the hall. His hand gripped the doorknob, every muscle screaming to step in, but he forced himself to stay hidden. "Clean it up!" Vanessa snapped. "Every crumb!" The twins scrambled, trembling hands gathering the mess. A shadow moved behind her. Maya. She stepped forward, voice low but firm. "Enough." Vanessa spun around. "Excuse me?" "They're children," Maya said, her tone steady, her eyes sharp. "They made a mistake." "That doesn't give you the right to treat them like this." Vanessa laughed, a brittle, bitter sound. "Oh, please. Spare me the speech. You're the help. You clean floors. You don't give orders." "And you," Maya replied calmly, "don't understand love." The words hit like a slap. Vanessa's face twisted with fury. "Get out before I have you replaced by mourning." "I'm not afraid of mourning," Maya said softly. But maybe you should be. The silence that followed was heavy. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Maya bent down, lifted the tray, and guided the twins back to bed. Her calm was steel, her gentleness defiance. When she left the room, Ethan slipped back into the shadows, his heart pounding. He followed her downstairs quietly. Maya didn't cry. She went straight to the kitchen, washed her hands, and began boiling water for tea. The soft clink of porcelain filled the air. Ethan stepped into the doorway, unsure whether to speak. "You shouldn't be here this late," she said without turning. "I could say the same to you," he replied quietly. She smiled faintly. "That's the thing about people like us. We don't get to leave until everything's spotless." Ethan walked closer, lowering his voice. "You spoke up for them." Most wouldn't. Her gaze stayed on the cup. "I've seen what silence costs. My mother used to clean houses like this. I promised myself I'd never let another woman's cruelty go unanswered." Something in her voice broke through the mask Ethan had worn all night. He wanted to tell her who he was, to promise that she wouldn't lose her job for protecting his children. But he couldn't. Not yet. Not until he knew everything. "Does she treat you that way often?" he asked. "Not me," Maya said. "She knows I'd fight back. But those kids, they're too small to fight. And their father—" She paused, her jaw tightening. "I don't think he even knows what's happening in his own house." Ethan looked away, guilt pressing down like weight. Maya sighed, setting down her cup. "People think money makes monsters. But it's not the money. It's what happens when no one tells them the truth anymore." Her words cut deeper than she knew. When she turned to leave, Ethan spoke softly. "Thank you for helping them." Maya looked at him for the first time that night, her eyes warm but tired. "Someone has to." She walked away, leaving Ethan alone in the kitchen. The air smelled faintly of mint tea and truth. He stood there for a long time, his disguise feeling heavier than before. Upstairs, Vanessa's voice carried faintly through the vents, sharp, impatient, demanding, and somewhere beyond it, he heard a softer sound, his daughter whispering in her sleep, "Please don't go, Miss Maya." The next morning, the house glittered with false light again. Vanessa smiled through her breakfast, scrolling through her tablet, talking about designer drapes and photo ops. Ethan, still dressed as Eric the janitor, cleared dishes nearby, pretending not to hear. Vanessa looked up suddenly. "Oh, Eric, after breakfast, I need you to help Maya in the basement. There's something wrong with the water pipes." Her tone was sweet, but her eyes weren't. Maya hesitated at the sink. "Ma'am, I can handle it." "No," Vanessa said smoothly. "Let him help. You'll need a witness if it floods." Something in the way she said witness sent a chill through Ethan. As Vanessa rose and walked away, her perfume trailing like poison, Ethan looked at Maya, who gave him the faintest knowing nod. Whatever was coming next, it wasn't about pipes. It was about truth. The basement smelled of dust and old secrets. Pipes lined the ceiling like veins, and the hum of machinery echoed through the dim light. Ethan followed Maya down the narrow stairs, his heart beating faster with every step. "Vanessa told you to come here?" he asked quietly. Maya nodded. "She said the faucet was leaking." "But I've checked. Nothing's wrong." Her voice carried calm, but Ethan caught the unease in her eyes. He looked around. The air felt too still, too staged. "Maybe she's testing you," he said. "She doesn't need to test me," Maya replied softly. "She already decided she hates me." Before Ethan could respond, the door above slammed shut. Hard. Maya flinched. The sound of a lock clicking followed. Cold, sharp, final. They were trapped. Ethan moved to the stairs instantly, pounding on the door. "Hello? Is anyone up there?" No answer. Just silence. Then, faint laughter. Vanessa's, muffled through the wood. Ethan's jaw tightened. He forced his voice low, steady. "She locked us in." Maya stood still, her face unreadable. "She's done this before." He turned sharply. "What?" "Not to me," Maya said, her voice trembling now. "To the children. Last month, she locked them in here for being loud. I found them hours later, freezing and crying. She made them promise not to tell their father." Ethan's stomach turned. He looked around again. The small basement suddenly felt smaller. The faint smell of damp concrete mixed with rage. He pressed his hands against the door, shouting, "Vanessa, open this door now!" Her voice floated down, sweet and venomous. "Oh, relax, Eric. Maybe now you'll learn what it's like to be beneath me." Maya's hands clenched into fists. "She's not just cruel, she's sick." Ethan turned to her, forcing himself to think. "There's another exit?" She nodded toward the back wall. "There's a service hatch. Small, but it leads to the garden. I used it once when the kids were trapped." They crossed the room quickly. Maya climbed a stack of crates, tugging at the metal latch. It resisted. Ethan joined her, prying it open with brute force. The metal screeched, sparks of rust falling like dust. The hatch gave way, letting in a sliver of daylight. "Go," Ethan said. Maya shook her head. "You first. You're bigger. You'll clear the path faster." He hesitated, then crawled through. The damp air outside hit his lungs like freedom. He turned, pulling her up after him. They both stood in the garden, breathing hard. Inside the mansion, Vanessa's voice carried faintly through an open window, laughing, talking on the phone. "Yes, darling. He's just a janitor. I'll have him fired by tonight. Can't have people like that hanging around the kids, can we?" Ethan's blood went cold. He looked at Maya, the quiet, steady woman who had done nothing but protect his children, and rage coiled in his chest. "I've heard enough," he said, but Maya grabbed his arm. "Wait." He stopped. "You can't confront her yet," she said firmly. "If she finds out who you are now, she'll twist it, make it look like I used you." Her logic was sharp, unflinching. She found out his true identity when he yelled earlier, and immediately understood the mission, while concealing her surprise. "Let me handle this my way," she said. Ethan frowned. "Your way?" Maya nodded. "The truth always looks best when it exposes itself." She walked toward the patio, wiping dust from her uniform. Ethan followed a few steps behind, keeping his head low as she approached the open French doors. If this moment interests you, take a second to like this video and subscribe for more stories where hearts change faster than fortunes ever could. Your support helps us keep sharing voices that deserve to be heard. Vanessa was still laughing on the phone. "I swear, darling, it's exhausting having to deal with help who think they're people. I might need another drink just to survive." Maya spoke softly, cutting through her sentence. "Ma'am, you locked us in the basement." Vanessa turned, her smile gone. "Oh, it's you. I thought I told you to stay down there." "You did," Maya replied evenly. "But I don't belong in the dark." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Watch your tone." Before Maya could respond, Ethan stepped forward, dropping the pretense entirely. "Maybe you should watch yours." Vanessa froze. Her eyes widened as the truth hit. the posture, the voice, the authority. "Ethan?" she whispered, disbelief cracking through her tone. He removed his cap slowly, the janitor uniform hanging loose on a man who suddenly looked far more powerful. "Surprise," he said quietly. "You just locked your fiancé in a basement." Vanessa's face drained of color. I didn't know. You didn't care," Ethan cut in. "You thought you were safe because no one was watching." "But someone always is." Maya stood silent, her presence strong beside him. Vanessa's eyes darted between them. She set me up!" Ethan's glare silenced her. "The only thing she did was protect my children. From you." For a moment, the mask Vanessa wore every day shattered. Her charm slipped, replaced by panic. "Ethan, please." He turned away. "Pack your things. You're leaving tonight." She stepped forward, desperate. "You're making a mistake." "You can't throw away everything we built." Ethan looked over his shoulder. "You're right. I can't throw it away," he paused. "Because it was never built on love. Only lies." Vanessa's lips trembled. For the first time, she had nothing to say. She stormed out, heels clacking like fading thunder. The silence that followed felt cleaner than air. Ethan turned to Maya. "You saved them. And you saved me from blindness." She exhaled slowly, the tension leaving her shoulders. "Maybe now they'll have a house, not just walls." He looked toward the window, where his twins stood watching from upstairs, faces pressed against the glass. Their eyes weren't afraid anymore. And for the first time in years, Ethan smiled. Not the kind meant for cameras, the kind meant for healing. The house that once gleamed with silence now breathed again. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, falling across the marble floor where chaos used to live. Ethan stood by the grand staircase, still in the janitor's uniform, watching as his twins ran to Maya, laughing, unafraid. Liam held her hand tightly. "Daddy fired the mean lady," he whispered. Maya smiled softly, brushing his hair back. "Your daddy did what was right." Ethan's voice came from behind her. "No," he said quietly. "You did what was right. I just finally saw it." She turned, eyes gentle but steady. "I didn't do it for praise, Mr. Ward. I did it because children deserve safety, not fear." He nodded, the words catching in his throat. "Then maybe I should have gone undercover sooner. Maybe I would have realized how blind I'd become." Maya's gaze softened. "You were busy building an empire." Sometimes success makes us deaf to the quiet cries inside our own homes. He looked at her, really looked, and saw not a maid, but a force of calm, a woman who had restored more than order. She had brought back heart. The twins tugged her apron, voices bright. "Miss Maya, can you read us the story again?" "In a minute, sweethearts," she said warmly. Ethan took a breath, his tone lower now. "Maya, I'd like you to stay." Permanently. Her eyes widened. "Sir, I appreciate that, but—" He stepped closer, interrupting gently. "Not as staff, as family." The words hung between them, heavy and pure. Maya blinked, caught off guard. "Family?" He nodded. "My children already see you as that, and honestly—" His voice broke slightly. "So do I." The silence that followed was different this time, not empty but alive. Upstairs, the sound of soft footsteps echoed, the twins darting to the piano room, Within moments, music filled the air. The melody was uneven, childlike, but it was joy. Maya smiled, tears welling. "You've got a beautiful home, Mr. Ward." "Maybe now," he said quietly. "It's finally a home." Outside, the last traces of the storm washed the driveway clean. The city skyline shimmered in the distance, and for the first time, the Ward estate didn't look like a fortress. It looked like a beginning. Later that evening, Ethan stood by the open window in his study. Maya was outside with the twins, chasing bubbles across the garden, the same scene that used to belong to silence now bursting with life. He watched her laugh as Grace tried to pop the bubbles faster than Liam could blow them. The sound reached him through the night breeze, soft but powerful. The sound of healing. Ethan whispered to himself, "You saved them, Maya. You saved me." A knock on the door pulled him back. Maya stepped inside, still smiling, a little out of breath. "The kids are finally asleep. They said to tell you they love you." Ethan smiled faintly. "They haven't said that in a long time." "Children love easily," she said. "They just need permission." He studied her. The calm strength, the quiet conviction, the grace that filled the spaces money never could. "Permission," he repeated softly. "Maybe we all need that." For a long moment they stood in the soft glow of the lamp, the silence no longer cold but warm, the kind that belongs to peace. Then, as she turned to leave, Ethan said, "Maya." She paused at the doorway. "Thank you," he said simply. She smiled, eyes glistening. "You don't have to thank me, Mr. Ward. Just keep listening." And with that, she left him standing in the doorway, a man who finally understood that wealth meant nothing if it couldn't buy back compassion. Outside, the moonlight caught the bubbles still floating in the air, fragile, fleeting, yet glowing in the dark. And for the first time in years, Ethan Ward, millionaire, CEO, father, finally felt human again. Morning sunlight spilled through the mansion's tall windows, painting gold lines across the polished floors. For once, the air didn't feel heavy. The quiet was peaceful, not fearful, like the house itself was breathing again. Downstairs, the news channel buzzed softly. Vanessa Clark's face filled the screen, surrounded by headlines that flickered in red. Ward Tech CEO ends engagement amid abuse scandal. Ethan stood in the doorway of the living room, still in casual clothes, no suit, no pretense. His assistant, nervous, held out a folder. "Sir, the PR team said you should issue a statement." Ethan didn't even glance at it. "I already did," he said calmly. He turned toward the open French doors, where laughter floated in from the garden. The twins were out there again with Maya, barefoot in the grass, chasing butterflies. The scene looked ordinary, but for Ethan it was everything. His assistant hesitated. "The board wants to know if you'll attend the investor meeting tomorrow." Ethan smiled faintly. "Tell them family comes first." For once, they'll have to understand. The assistant blinked, then nodded and quietly left. Ethan stepped outside, the morning air crisp against his skin. Maya looked up from where she knelt beside a flower bed, helping Grace plant a small rose bush. "Starting a garden?" he asked. Maya smiled. "Something the kids wanted?" They said this house needed life again. He crouched beside her, his hands brushing the soil. Maybe they're right. For a moment, silence sat between them, not the kind that divides, but the kind that heals. Maya looked over at him. "I saw the news. You didn't have to go public." "Yes, I did," he said firmly. For too long, I hid behind control. But silence only protects the wrong people. Her gaze softened. You could have ruined your image. He smiled wryly. Maybe I needed to? The image wasn't me anymore. From the porch, the twins' laughter rose again. Bright, carefree. Liam chased his sister with a bubble wand, shouting, "Catch it before it pops!" Ethan watched them, pride flickering in his eyes. I used to think wealth was legacy, he murmured. Turns out, legacy is who remembers your kindness, not your money. Maya brushed the dirt from her hands, standing slowly. Then you've already started a new one. He stood beside her, the sunlight warming their faces. I can't do it without you. Maya smiled, small but full of quiet understanding. You already are. You just needed to remember who you are when no one's watching. Behind them, the butler approached with a small envelope. Sir, this arrived for you. Ethan opened it, a handwritten letter. From Vanessa. He scanned it quickly. Apologies, excuses, a few threats about reputation. But one line made him pause. You'll regret replacing me with someone beneath you. He folded the letter once, twice, and dropped it in the trash bin beside him. People like her never understand. Dignity isn't beneath anyone. Maya said nothing, but her faint smile said everything. Later that afternoon, the mansion filled with piano music again, the twins learning new notes under Maya's gentle instruction. Ethan listened from the hall, eyes closed, the melody sinking into the corners of a home that had once forgotten music altogether. When the final note faded, Grace's voice carried softly. Daddy, Miss Maya says we should name our garden. Ethan smiled. And what should we call it? Hope, she said proudly. He nodded, emotion catching in his throat. That's perfect. Maya looked at him then, her expression warm, certain. Hope grows where someone finally chooses to plant it. Outside, the new rosebush swayed in the breeze, fragile, bright, alive. And for the first time in years, Ethan Ward knew he had finally built something worth keeping. Not another company, not another empire, a family. If stories like this remind you that real wealth isn't counted in dollars or diamonds, but in honesty, healing, and the courage to start again, hit like and subscribe. So you never miss the next story where quiet truth breaks loud deception and love finally takes its rightful place.